islands. You'd think that islands are all like remote areas. I know there are several massive island countries in the world with a lot of people, but basically, an island is basically areas with all, not connected to a continental landmass, is surrounded by all water. Okay, for example, of an island is Japan. Japan sits at the side of Asia. It is not connected to land from Asia, which makes it an island country. Okay, same thing with Oceania. Yeah, Australia is large enough to be a continent, but you know, it's not connected to anyone else, so it's its own continent. And also, it has its own continental crust as well, which makes it a continent unlike Greenland, which is just a pile of ice. But here's the world's largest islands in the world. So, number one is Java. People have made tons of videos about Java. It is larger in population than Russia. Okay. Yeah. It is larger than Russia. It is one of the most populated islands in the world. Yeah. And they actually have a comparison here for the islands here. Next is Honshu, Japan. Of course, Honshu is the most populated island of Japan. Japan is actually made up of multiple islands. When it is, as well. And Great Britain is the third most populated island. This isn't surprising that Britain has a lot of people on it. The UK is a pretty big area of people. And Luzon, Philippines, that's number 4 here. That is a Philippine island. It has 64 million people. Sumatra, 59 million people. Madagascar, 30 million people. Madagascar isn't as densely populated as these other islands, despite being one of the biggest. Maracaibo, another Philippine island, that is number 7. Taiwan is 8th with 27 million people. So I say Mumbai is the most densely populated, I think, of here because it's a city. Yeah, Mumbai is an island? I actually did not know that. Borneo, for 23 million, not very densely populated. Hispaniola, outside of the top 10, probably will not be in the top 10 for a while. As some of these islands like Papua New Guinea and so in Africa, I think Africa has some islands, but yeah, Hispaniola is being beat out by Borneo with 22 million people, Sri Lanka 21 million people, Sulawesi, Indonesia, that's that weird shaped island in Indonesia, 20 million people live there. Papua New Guinea or New Guinea has 14 million people. Kyushu, which is another Japanese island, this is number 15, is 10 million people. No, not 10 million people. 12 million people. Cuba is the next most populated island, 16, with 11 million people. Hainan is 17 with 10 million people, and that's all the islands of 10 million people. Long Island, which is part of New York. Yes, Long Island is actually an island. 8 million people. Ireland, 7 million people. Paru Iozong, which is just Singapore, as around 5 million people. For Ireland, 7 million people. Again, not very densely populated island. We go Madagascar, Borneo, and New Guinea. Or Guinea. Yeah, New Guinea Island. That's what the area is called. 21 is Hokkaido, Japan. 22 is Sicily. And then there's 2 Philippine islands here, Negros and Panay. And Bali is the last most populated island with 4 million people. It's actually pretty densely populated for such a small island. Right. And that's it about the islands. Yeah. And these are by size and population. So the most densely populated island is, I think, Mumbai. So that's island ranked 9 by population. It means as the Greater Mumbai. Verification is required as it appears as a dot on the scale compared to the other most populated islands in this world. Missing from this list is Australia, which would make the top 5 of the list, but it's a continent if it was not for the continent island debate. as well. So Australia is not on this list. New Zealand is not on this list, as New Zealand is split into two islands as well. But it is pretty interesting to see how many islands with a lot of people. I do not live on an island. I always say I live on a continent. So, but it is pretty interesting that so many people live on an island. Like, it is a lot of people. Like 300 to 400. I think it's even more than 400 million people. I think it's like 500, 600 million people. Not everybody lives on a continental landmass as well. Yeah, and that's about this video here. Goodbye.